The date is September 30th. It is a Monday, so I'm barely making the cut with posting the video a week. Um, so for this week's video, I wanted to talk about two states of being and this kind of belief system that I've adopted. Um, this year I'd say, but more so just in the past couple of years. Um, I'd say that I've experienced this concept for most of my life, and that it's something, whether it's believed consciously or subconsciously, it's something that most humans, I think, do experience. Um, and it does kind of relate to the concept of like samsara that is associated with some Eastern philosophies and belief systems like Hinduism and Buddhism, um, which just basically describes the endless cycle of death and rebirth that you experience throughout your lifetime. It describes the wheel of suffering, essentially, and that's what this idea of there being two states of being also proclaims. Um, so I got this kind of in the way that I'm describing it. I got this concept from this guy named David Bayer. I watched like a video of his a while ago. So if you want to check out some of the information that I'm going to talk about, make sure to check him out. Might leave his ads on the description below. But what this concept tries to describe is that we are always embodying either just two states of being, that being a state of um, primal states or a state of power. And the distinction between the two is more or less this positive and negative emotions, a more positive or negative experience in whatever you're doing. Um, in a state of power, you are able to be more compassionate, passionate. You're able to embody curiosity, joy, things of that nature. And it's associated with the parasympathetic nervous system, the state of rest and relaxation as far as your central nervous system goes. Um, and in that state of, um, in that more primal state, you experience fear, judgment, criticism, um, stress, um, just a state of fear. And one distinction between the two binaries, um, simply putting it, is either being in a state of fear or godliness. And whereas the other is described by more positive emotions, the state of that primal state, is described by more negative emotions. It's characterized by more negative emotions, like I said, fear, boredom, judgment, criticism, and it's more so associated with your sympathetic nervous system as it relates to your central nervous system, where you produce cortisol and norepinephrine and adrenaline because you're in that state of fight or flight. Um, you don't feel good, and so your decision making is also affected in that way. And when I was learning about this concept, it really resonated with me. Um, this guy David, who's like an influencer, guru type of figure, touts that you can only either be in one state or the other. That there's no nuance, there's no really gray area in between. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, but that is the one point in this concept that I kind of disagree with. Um, but and if I look away for a second, it is because I did write really this cursory notes. Um, yeah, the point that I disagree with is that you only embody one point, one state or the other. Um, the claim in this belief system is that you could manually transition or oscillate between one state or the other by identifying what the limiting belief is, or what the belief that's causing that fear to induce, changing that belief by pointing to experiences in your past so that you could embody that state of power. Um, and what I disagree with, although it is, you know, it's a very positive kind of framework to think that you have the control all the time. to manually change the limiting belief that's affecting your state of being. But sometimes, even though it's good to acknowledge what you can and can't control, um, stuff happens in life. If your sibling died, you could tell yourself that you can change a foundational belief, believing that you will see them in the afterlife when you both die, when you yourself die. Um, but I don't know if that's sustainable. I think, from my experience at least, that the oscillation between those two states of being happens in itself. Instead of manually changing the belief system to oscillate between those two states, I think you should just acknowledge what you're experiencing, and allow it to transition on its own. Um, in that way, you're not dismaying anything that you're experiencing, and you're not putting it in the archives of your mind for it to return later on. Because although it may seem beneficial to kind of categorize things, or categorize your beliefs, and change your beliefs so that you could embody a state of being that you want, um, you can't change reality. And this comes to the point at which I disagree that you can only be in one state or another, that it's a dichotomy between the two. I think that there's nuance. You could be in a state of curiosity and passion and joy, while still acknowledging the more negative aspects of your experience of your life. Um, and by acknowledging those negative aspects and just sitting with it as opposed to distracting yourself, you naturally transition into that, preferred state of power, because it's unsustainable. One doesn't exist without the other. It's it's uh it's foundational to the concept of dualism. Um, you can't have one state if you don't have the other. You can't fully experience the full extent of power unless you experience the full extent of that more primal state. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. I thought deeply about this for for the weekend. Um, if you have a comment or any thoughts on the topic, I know it's a very niche subject. Um, but yeah, leave it in the comment section. Leave a like, any recommendations for future videos. Happy to hear about it. Um, yeah, we're about 3 months in to posting these videos consistently, every a little over 3 months every weekend. So we got 2.5 months, 3 months left of the year. We're gonna keep it strong and steady, and appreciate you watching the video, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right, bye.